Hey everybody, welcome back to the workshop. I've always been fascinated by inventions, by the nuts and bolts, no pun intended, of how things work. Think about it, the light bulb, the telephone, the airplane. These inventions didn't just illuminate our homes, connect us across continents, or let us soar through the skies. They fundamentally reshaped civilization. But here's the thing about inventions. The stories we tell about them, the ones that get passed down through generations, are often more myth than reality. We love the image of a lone genius toiling away in their garage, having a eureka moment and single-handedly changing the world. And don't get me wrong, passion projects are amazing. But the truth is far messier, far more collaborative, and ultimately far more interesting. So today, we're going to bust open the dusty old history books and uncover the real stories behind three iconic inventions: the light bulb, the telephone, and the airplane. Get ready to have your perceptions challenged, because invention is rarely a solo act. It's a symphony of minds, a chorus of ingenuity, all building upon each other's work. Let's get started. All right, let's talk about the light bulb, that beacon of human ingenuity that banished the darkness and ushered in the electric age. Who do you think of when you picture the light bulb's invention? Thomas Edison, right? Yeah, me too. He's the name synonymous with the light bulb. And look, Edison was a brilliant inventor, a tireless tinkerer. But the story of the light bulb is way bigger than one guy, even a guy as driven as Edison. Edison wasn't the first person to try and create a practical incandescent light bulb. In fact, some historians estimate that there were over 20 inventors working on incandescent lamps before Edison even got started. One of the most notable of these pioneers was a British physicist named Joseph Swan. Swan began experimenting with incandescent lighting in the 1850s. Around the same time, Edison was still a young telegraph operator. By 1860, Swan had developed a working prototype of an incandescent lamp using a carbonized paper filament. It wasn't perfect, but it showed real promise. He even demonstrated his invention publicly, years before Edison's famous demonstration in Menlo Park. So what happened? Why isn't Swan a household name? Well, Swan's early bulbs had a major drawback: their filaments burned out quickly. This was a problem that plagued many early incandescent lamp inventors. The technology to create a durable, long-lasting filament just wasn't there yet. Enter Thomas Edison, stage left. Edison and his team of researchers at Menlo Park tackled the filament problem with their characteristic vigor. They tested thousands of materials, from different types of plant fibers to even hair, searching for the perfect filament. They eventually landed on a carbonized bamboo filament that could burn for over 1,200 hours. That was a game changer. But here's the thing: Edison didn't invent the light bulb. He improved upon it. He took an existing idea, a concept that many brilliant minds had already been working on, and he refined it, perfected it, and made it commercially viable. And it wasn't just about the bulb itself. The light bulb wasn't going to change the world on its own. It needed an entire system to support it. Edison envisioned a network of power plants, electrical grids, and affordable light fixtures that would bring electric light to the masses. He was a systems thinker, an innovator who understood that the real magic happens when you connect the dots, when you build an ecosystem around a groundbreaking invention. So the next time you flip on a light switch, remember that the light illuminating your room is the result of countless hours of work, countless failures, and the combined efforts of numerous brilliant minds. Okay, let's talk about another invention that changed the world: the telephone. This marvel of communication shrunk the world, allowing us to speak to each other instantly across continents. And the name we most closely associate with the telephone: Alexander Graham Bell, right? But just like with the light bulb, the story of the telephone is full of twists, turns, and forgotten inventors. One of the most fascinating figures in the history of the telephone is an Italian immigrant named Antonio Meucci. Meucci, a trained chemist and mechanic, began experimenting with ways to transmit sound over electrical wires in the 1850s. That's right, years before Alexander Graham Bell entered the scene. Driven by a deeply personal motivation, Meucci was desperate to find a way to communicate with his ailing wife, who was confined to their bedroom. He envisioned a device that would allow him to speak to her from his workshop, to offer her comfort and companionship even when they were physically apart. Through years of tireless experimentation, Mucci achieved his goal. He built a working prototype of a device he called the teletrafono, which used a vibrating diaphragm to convert sound waves into electrical signals, and then back again. In 1871, Mucci took the crucial step of filing a caveat for his invention. Now, a caveat wasn't a full patent, but it was a legal document that provided a sort of placeholder protection for an invention, signaling to others that you were in the process of developing it. Mucci even demonstrated his teletrafono to witnesses, further establishing his claim to the invention. So why isn't Mucci celebrated as the inventor of the telephone? Well, here's where the story takes a turn. Mucci, facing financial hardship and unable to afford the full patent fees, couldn't renew his caveat after 1874. This left his invention vulnerable, and fate, it seemed, had other plans. Enter Alexander Graham Bell, a Scottish-born scientist and inventor who was deeply interested in the science of sound and speech. I, like many inventors at the time, was captivated by the idea of transmitting the human voice over long distances. I, too, began experimenting with various designs for a device that could achieve this. In 1876, Bell filed a patent for his version of the telephone. His design, while sharing some similarities with Mucci's teletrafono, had key differences in its technical implementation. Bell's patent was granted, and the rest, as they say, is history. Bell's telephone, backed by powerful investors and savvy business acumen, quickly became a commercial success, forever etching his name in the annals of history. But the story doesn't end there. Mucci, although facing an uphill battle, never gave up on his claim to the invention. He filed lawsuits challenging Bell's patent, presenting evidence of his earlier work and the striking similarities between his teletrafono and Bell's telephone. The legal battle raged on for years, embroiled in controversy and debated by scientists, historians, and legal scholars. While Mucci's case had its supporters, he ultimately lacked the financial resources to fight the powerful Bell Telephone Company. All right, let's talk about humanity's age-old dream of flight. For centuries, we looked to the birds, envious of their ability to soar above the earth. And then, on a blustery December morning in 1903, that dream became a reality. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, made history at Kitty Hawk. Their achievement was a pivotal moment in human history, but the story of the airplane is far more nuanced than a single moment.
The Wright brothers were not formally educated physicists. Both attended high school but did not receive diplomas. They operated a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, and had a good working knowledge of math and science. They knew about Newton's laws of motion and about forces and torques. Their energies were focused by two events in 1896. The death of Otto Lilienthal, the celebrated glider experimenter in a flying accident, and the successful unmanned launching of powered models by Samuel Langley. Langley's work demonstrated that heavier-than-air flight was achievable. The Wright brothers learned valuable lessons from Langley's failures. They understood the importance of meticulous design and perseverance. Another crucial figure was Octave Chanute, a civil engineer and aviation enthusiast. Chanute shared his knowledge of aerodynamics and encouraged the Wrights. He believed mastering gliding was key to powered flight. The Wright brothers took Chanute's advice to heart, testing their gliders at Kitty Hawk.
So there you have it. The real stories behind three inventions that changed the world. We've seen how the light bulb, the telephone, and the airplane, often attributed to lone geniuses, were actually the products of years of collaborative effort, of countless individuals building upon each other's work, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. It's easy to buy into the myth of the lone inventor, toiling away in isolation, struck by a sudden flash of brilliance. But the truth is far more interesting, far more human. Invention is rarely a solo act, it's a relay race, with each runner passing the torch, adding their own energy, their own creativity to the pursuit of progress. So, the next time you flip a switch, make a call, or marvel at an aircraft soaring overhead, take a moment to appreciate the untold stories, the unsung heroes, the collaborative spirit that made these everyday miracles possible. Because behind every great invention is a network of brilliant minds, all connected by a shared desire to illuminate our world, connect us with one another, and push the boundaries of human achievement.